Good morning. We're just going to randomly chat this morning. I don't really have too much to say. For all that watched my tomato video with my dogs appearing, thank you. That was just something fun out of the blue that I wanted to do because I have been pretty silent on social media with my videos. Not so much that the cat has my tongue, just really watching P's and Q's right now. I feel like I am being monitored. Not like in the Big Brother, because they don't care who I am. I'm just a random girl who does content creating, teach art classes, and work in the restaurant industry. But I believe those that may have been made to believe one thing are now paying attention to who I am or what I do and how I bring forth entertaining issues, inspiring issues, financial issues, religious issues, all the things that make us human, all the things that make us, in my opinion, be a better person in this human experience. I just want to randomly talk this morning. Like I said, I really don't have anything to say because there is not a lot going on in my world right now. It is pretty much at a standstill. I'm still working my outside gig in the allotted hours that I want to work. Mentally, I am not capable of doing any more right now until I see a shift in, I don't even want to say the outside world. Just I notice more and more people are staying to themselves, which is fine. That is a safe bet. I don't want to do big crowds. Even in my outside, the second outside gig, it is a small venue, small, 50, 60 people. And I feel safe. Sometimes being out and about, I don't feel safe. I live in Afton, right on the River Pear Trail, and where I used to walk that trail every other day, that's how I had lost all my weight, got myself back in shape after horrendous female issues. I don't want to walk that trail. I don't feel safe. Going into my outside gig, the walls, the environment is controlled, mostly. You know, when you were in the public in any aspect, there are crazies out there. I'm a nobody. I'm just, trying to rebuild a business that was up and coming before the pandemic. But I do not feel safe in this world that we are living in right now, and it doesn't help either that I'm still having car issues with the newer car I bought in April. Trying to get to the bottom of that. I used to be the girl that would grab my camera. I would get in my car, and I would drive for miles and miles and miles till I knew I had to turn around. I would also get in my car, drive miles and miles and miles, and take a 4-day vacation by myself. I no longer feel safe to do that. And I should not, as an independent woman, have those fears. But that is the kind of world that we live in right now. I'm very disappointed in humanity. And although I surround myself with what I believe good people, I just don't feel safe. I don't. I'm Kitryn Marie. I reside in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm an artist, a writer, speaker, life and business coach. Teach a variety of art classes, personal development, art enrichment. I've written a book. Where is it? Written a book. I actually get my royalties this week, I believe, from the book sales. When He Had Her, it is fictional. It's about a woman reclaiming her voice after being in a narcissistic relationship. She turned state evidence to the feds on somebody she was involved with. It's really good. It's a nice psych thriller, an easy read. $15.99 on Amazon. Makes a great Christmas present for somebody. Fictional. But trying to promote art classes when everybody is strapped for money, it's been challenging. And I have a venue that I can teach at. Was interviewed by that magazine, and I'm forever thankful for all those magazine articles that have been written about who I am and what I do. I've said it, the last couple of videos. I'm dealing, I guess, with some kind of grief without having my horse. That was my physical activity where I could go and I could ride her, I could run with her, and I don't have that, and that distresses me very much because of my autoimmune issue. I need that physical exercise, and although my outside gig, it's a very physical type job, I am noticing it is playing havoc with my body, and I very much pay attention to, I'm watching my lighting here, I don't know what's going on. I very much pay attention to being in tune with the physical part, because if you don't take care of your health, you have nothing. In that outside gig, when things are not going the way your body wants to go, it plays very much takes a mental toll on you, because as you age, you're not able to go and do like you want to do. Bad hip, bad shoulder, lower back always hurts. I buy new shoes. I try to stay as thin as possible, for a woman who's 64 years old. I try to maintain image. I watch my words because I am responsible and I am accountable for who I am and whomever I lend a hand. A person who very much believes in faith, family, our country, trying to support and surround myself with people who are like-minded but understanding we're all different and we need to agree to disagree, and it's okay, but you don't hold those disagreements against anybody else. But when it has taken a mental toll on you because we are on sensory overload, it becomes difficult most times for most people to function and to operate. So as I'm sitting here this morning trying to figure out, I go into my outside gig later, I've got my Green Bay Packers shirt on because it's a conversation piece. I know nothing about football. I love the green. My eyes are this color green. Kind of complements my hair color, which I don't know if I want to go darker or if I want to go lighter again. I feel like in the last 6 months, I have aged. I feel it. I feel like the world at large has aged me. And it's distressing, it's upsetting. It's a fact of life. And it's how you handle all those things that make your appearance what they are and what's visible to those that come in contact with you, trying to keep yourself all together. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe I have a right to talk about the things that I have had an experience with. And that takes me back to, I feel like I'm being extremely monitored because people are like, what is she going to say next? Typically, I'm not afraid to voice my opinion. And because I read energy and I'm pretty intuitive and I can mostly look at people and see their motives, where I care about people who care and want to help and not put profit ahead of that. I talk about that in all of my art classes, my personal development classes. But I wonder when that line separates, and when will we become a society again who cares about who wants our service instead of wondering how we are going to profit off of it. You know, I'm concerned about people who attach their identity to brands who are not who they are, and if that attachment goes away, what happens to your identity? You know, I'm Kitryn Marie. That is my brand. That is my identity. Those that know me, I'm just plain Kit. You know, I cook, I have dogs, I love to do things. But right now, because of what we are seeing, it's been challenging again. And my identity has taken a back seat because I'm just observing. I had a customer last week. You know, I have a 3-day and a 1-night shift at my outside gig. That is plenty for me. I do not want to do any more. I'm trying to veer out of it and retire into teaching. I don't mind lending my hand to do an event here or there. My other outside gig in the bartending world for a banquet center, I stand for 4 hours, I make really good money, and I have a penguin suit on. There's nothing strenuous about it other than I talk with people, I entertain them, I offer them their drinks, and I am paid handsomely for that 4 hours. That is why I continue to do that. That is not my identity. My identity is as a speaker, as a writer, as a life and a business coach that teaches these personal development classes, these art enrichment classes. That is who I want my identity to be. You know, I run into people all the time and they're like, "You look so familiar. Why do you look familiar? How do I know you?" Well, being in the restaurant industry for 32 years, you're bound to have the same customers. So this customer that I had last week, you can tell the world has really played on people's nerves, and we are seeing behavior that is not typical in the restaurant industry, other than people are hungry. They want good food, they want good service, they want to know that their money is being well spent, and they want to know that their server is attending to what their need is. That's really all you're allowed when you come into a restaurant. You're allowed that experience. That's why most people go into a restaurant, other than they don't want to cook or they don't want to go to the grocery store. They're looking for a good experience. 2 gentlemen. It was a day, this past week, people have come out of the woodwork. Feast or famine. And last week, physically, it very much took a toll on my body. I mean, when I came home, I was done. I laid on the couch, and I could not move till the next morning. That's how I know age is catching up to me. Anyway, I had a bigger group. It was a gentleman, his wife, his 4 children. He was having a business meeting and brought in 5 of his business partners. I was entertaining them, trying to, you know, make sure the kids were all fed first, so on and so forth, the mom, the grandma, and me. I had several bigger tables on the inside, so I'm running. And the establishment that I work, it's a very large square space, and I do my best to keep up, and jokingly I always say I need roller skates. Roller skates is the last thing I need. I can barely walk and chew gum. 2 gentlemen were sat in my middle section outside, which was fine. The day before I had a different section. This day I had a section which was normally not my section. There's an outer section that belongs to another part of the restaurant on the weekends, and I neglected, sadly. I did make contact with them. Hi, I'll be with you, but I was doing everything else. And finally, by the time that I was able to get over to them, I wanted to make sure that they were getting my full attention. This is typically kind of how I dress. I do have a work t-shirt. I wish they would make them more with a v-neck and more fitting for a woman. Very presentable, as always, because my image represents the company that I work for. My words very much reflect my job. I am responsible for me. I am accountable for my job that I do. And that's how I earn my paycheck there. That is how I earn my tips. This particular gentleman, I felt like he was trying to look through me. Now, I have noticed that more and more since the world has kind of changed. It is no longer somebody who is eyeing you up and down, because I laugh at that. I'm like, what, do I look funny? I think I look funny to begin with, And I'm talking to this gentleman. I also believe when you were talking with somebody and you were, stating something and you were of a serious business nature, you look them in the eye. This gentleman wasn't looking me in the eye. He was looking through me. It was a little alarming. It was a little unnerving. And his person that he was with was, I'm sure, a work counter person. They were talking business. And I apologized profusely. I'm so sorry, I've got this, I've got that. And the guy's counting all of my tables and all of my people out there. Not that he was making an exception for who I was or what I was doing, but I think he was trying to observe the environment, and he was trying to understand who I was. Now, I am not used to that. I am not used to somebody really eyeing me, looking through to me, trying to read my soul. But it was unnerving. Finally took care of him, got them what they needed. Like I said, we were busy that day and running back and forth and doing everything that I needed to do because I want to do a good job where I'm at. I enjoy going to the place, although it is taking a physical toll on me. I enjoy it. And as I work more and more with other individuals, I am noticing the same type of behavior. The experience that people are looking for is so different than the experience that we would have gained pre-pandemic. It's beyond those that want what they want, and they want it now. It's they are expecting you to be responsible for getting it to them now. And if they don't like anything about who you are or the way you move or your mannerism, they feel they're entitled to take it out on you. Now, like I said, I've been in food and beverage 32 years, and I have seen the fluctuation of attitudes and personalities. And if you look in any of the other social media content with restaurants and servers and what they are experiencing, they're noticing it too. Those type of experiences in any industry, when you feel like you are being monitored based on a personal experience that they are having to deal with because they too are on sensory overload, and trust is a big issue right now. The world at large, we don't know what to believe. We don't know who to trust. We don't know who really has our back. What are your motives? And are you wanting to help, or are you wanting to hinder? Do you want to manipulate? Do you want to gaslight? Do you want to say here, but then you want to take it back? And I think we are seeing this more and more on a regular basis in our day in and day out life. You know, we're all kind of on edge. We're all trying to function the best we know how with what we have to work with that's going to make our personal lives work. Like I said, I am pretty intuitive and I pretty much can read energy, and I am one of those type people where once people get to know who I am, they love to talk to me and I love to listen. If I have advice, I give it. If I have advice, and sometimes it's unsolicited, and I offer it, you know, you can always tell me, go away. The running joke at work is, if I don't make a mess, it's not my shift. If I get in your way and you don't like where I am, just kind of push me. And people always laugh, you know, because I'm one of those, I'm talking with my hands. I'm trying to be entertaining. I'm trying to be inspiring. I'm trying to offer something to somebody that is missing in their life, and I'm trying to understand the identity that they have and what they are attached to without having it drain the life out of me. But I think we're all experiencing that right now. So as you see me take kind of a back seat with promoting, you know, I'm trying to figure out what is next for all of us. What is the next path? What is the next road? When does the fear subside in our life? Because it seems like that old life, it is gone. I don't want to have to live life on edge. I don't want to have to be afraid. I want to be able to get in my vehicle, and I want to be able to drive, and I want to be able to go, and I want to be able to do my photography, and I want to be able to share the experiences that make me an interesting human being, where people can connect to me, where they want to surround themselves with me. They want to take my art classes, my personal development classes. I have a responsibility to those that I come in contact with. And as I am taking a back seat and I am observing more and I am reading rooms and I am reading energy, I'm thinking it's time for a new direction and a new shift. I just don't know where to go or how to do it. Being educated, you know, like I always say, once you are educated, nobody can take that away from you. Once you learn something, you don't get to unlearn it. And once you see something, you can't unsee it. So I'm sitting here on a Sunday morning trying to figure out what am I going to do before I go into the gig later. It's 11:14. It is 9:21. It is an eclipse day. It is an equinox day. We are heading into fall. You may start to see more video of me cooking again. That's kind of how I got started, being comfortable doing videoing and contenting. And, you know, I'm not ready to be any big brand ambassador. I'm not willing to do any affiliate marketing. I don't have the wherewithal and the energy to do it. I want to take a trip. I watched last night 2 or 3 different shows on YouTube about Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is calling me. I never realized how many mountains were in Pennsylvania. And this next book that I'm trying to write, Seaside Shores, she leaves Bangor, Pennsylvania, and heads to the Outer Banks. You know, she inherits a resort that's run down, and her father, a retired military man, she recalls a lot of the things that he taught her. They originated in the Midwest. He goes to the Outer Banks. She goes to Pennsylvania. And here she ends up where her father leaves off, and she's trying to rebuild the legacy. So as I'm learning more and more about Pennsylvania in itself, and if you're from Pennsylvania, reach out. Tell me what you like about Pennsylvania. Give me more reasons why I want to go there. But as I'm like watching things about Pennsylvania, I'm just totally fascinated. And maybe that's a direction. Maybe that's where I'm called to go next once I get my damn car figured out. But I've kept you long enough. I've been here now 25 minutes and 12 seconds, but I'm Kitryn Marie. Reside in St. Louis, Missouri. My identity is attached to my brand, Kitryn Marie. I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, I'm a life and a business coach. I teach personal development classes, I teach art enrichment classes, I'm a published author. See, When He Had Her, Seaside Shores, the next one. You know, be happy, be blessed, be thankful for everything, for every experience that you have in your life. Look at the experience. What has it taught you? What lesson have you learned? And what are you learning? What are you learning that you can share with somebody else who needs what you have to offer? What is your service? You know, what can you do for somebody out of the goodness of who you are and not for profit? Fate turns on a dime. You decide what side of the coin you want to be on. You can reach out at kitrynmarie@gmail.com. You know, I'm an open book. If you're interested in any of the classes, just inquire. But y'all have a wonderful, wonderful, happy eclipse day. May fall bring wonderful, new, exciting things into your life. Take care, and I'll see you soon.